Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined for this week's episode by a returning guest, Mr. Ben Langford.
Hello, hello. Yeah, I've had a very privileged set of films with Chicken Run, Kung Fu Panda, and now Paddington. So very excited to discuss this.
Yes, as he mentioned, we are going to be talking about Paddington 1 and 2 because there's a new Paddington, which we're doing it now because it doesn't come out here in Australia till January. I don't know when it comes out in the US,
January as well.
January, yeah. But it's out in the UK this week, so we're covering it now because also there just won't be time in November and December to cover it. Like the next 7 weeks are just full of other things, so we can't. So we're doing this
Right.
now.
It's also the holidays. The Paddington films fit very well into this kind of season, you know?
Yes, it is like the first day I went into work I went into work on Friday, which was the first, and there's already
Mhm.
Christmas music playing, and I'm like, God
Yep.
fucking damn it. It's already we've had Christmas decorations up since August. Like we've had
Mhm.
Christmas stock in our store since
Right.
August.
Yeah.
And we put it out before we put out any Halloween stuff. So
See, I love
but
Christmas, so I never mind that, but I do get that it's
I
a little silly.
I just working in a store. All I want for Christmas is just the most annoying song.
Okay, I didn't know if that was just an American thing. So that's like a thing in
No,
Australia too.
it is an Australian thing. Paddington, some of the most beloved films of the past 10 years. Yeah, I rewatched them for the purposes of this. I think this is the first time I'd seen them in about like 4 years because I don't make it a habit of rewatching films that much because I just am like, there's too many films to watch films over and over
Right.
again. I want to watch new things. So I do rewatch stuff, but it's like I don't watch stuff for like a few years. I don't make it like
Mhm.
it's not like films where I'm like, oh, this is an annual tradition of like, oh, I'll rewatch this once a year.
Right.
I don't get that. So the last time I remember watching these films, to be honest, I don't even know if I'd seen them beforehand, but the last time I remember watching them was 2020. And I remember
Mhm.
specifically when it was because this was when COVID happened, which
Mm.
not good time. So this was
Mhm.
2020, and um, we weren't allowed to leave the state or sort of leave our where we lived because of the restrictions and everything. Because we didn't want because of how everything was. And so my
Mm.
one of my older sisters, her and her partner, and she just had a kid in like June of 2020, and we hadn't been able to visit them because of the restrictions. So in sort of around September, I think it was, we were able to travel to see them. They live up north, so it's like a 12-hour drive from where I live to where they live. And so that's when I watched these because I thought they were like, oh, these are on Netflix. I've heard lots of good things about these films, so I just put them on and I watched both the Paddington films. So that would have been the last time I'd seen them was 2020. So I didn't see them in the cinema. I think my
Mhm.
mum and my younger sister had seen the first one in the cinema, but I'd sort of been like, nah, I don't really want to see it because I wasn't really like a big film. I wasn't really into film in 2014. Like I liked films, but I wasn't like actively seeking out film. And I don't think I anyone we had seen the second one either. But we sort of I don't remember when this happened, but we did learn that Paddington 2 had like 100% of Rotten Tomatoes, and we just thought that was insane. And we were just like, what the fuck? We did not understand this at all. But yeah, so that's sort of my history with the Paddington films.
I mean, I didn't see them in. Well, okay, I technically did not see them in theaters when they came out, and I remember when because it was what 2014 when the first one came out. I remember that was when I
Yeah.
was getting into I had just gotten I had recently gotten a phone, and I would like look up like scores on like I was not I wouldn't say obsessed with like Rotten Tomatoes, but I would like check it. Like I was just curious because I was just like somewhat liked films, but also interested like in the it was like when I was first getting into like film criticism and like film
Mm,
I guess like the world of film. So I would like check stuff like Rotten
mm.
Tomatoes. And I remember being very surprised about how high the first one was because I was like in that like middle school age where I was like kids films are stupid and this like stupid Paddington movie looks dumb and
Mm,
like so I was like, how does this movie such a high score? And then kind of brushed it off and never thought about it.
mm,
So I never saw
mm,
it when it came out initially. Second one came out and same thing. But I remember at that point, I think I had Letterbox at that point, or I was just like, I think I remember I was watching like Karsten Runquist, I think, and he like was raving about Paddington 2, and I
mhm,
was like, okay, there must be something here, and I kind of bookmarked that. And then also during COVID, I finally got around to both of them, and I really loved both of them. I
mhm,
was really surprised by like the filmmaking of them. I was kind of there's kind of like a Wes Anderson quality, which is something I know that gets compared to a lot, but I do think there's something more singular about Paul King's direction. He's not like a Wes Anderson like
mm.
ripoff per se. I do think he has like a really charming style, both in his like witty screenplay and also just like the visual comedy. It like really harkens back to the like silent film stuff that I really enjoy. So
Mhm,
I don't know. There's something that really like struck me about them that I wasn't fully expecting. They're really like sophisticated in a way. They do feel
mhm,
very cared for in how they're made, and I just really love like
mhm,
the cast as well. Like especially the two villains, which I'm sure we'll get into more. But yeah, then I rewatched two in theaters. They just randomly like brought it back to like US theaters, which like I think it was Regal. And it wasn't
mhm,
like that they don't usually do that. Like if they do it it's like a event thing, but this was just like randomly on a Sunday brought back and I was like, all right, I'll go see Paddington 2 in theaters. So me and a couple friends went and saw Paddington 2 in theaters and it obviously has been kind of warped by like the meme of it of how good they are. Like you can never really tell if someone's being unironic or ironic with like the Paddington praise. But I really do feel
mhm,
like they're high quality films, and if I ever had kids or like nephews or nieces or anything, this would be like on the higher end of like films I would want to show them quality
mm.
films. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Mm.
very
Well, I
excited
mean, if
part
I
three.
yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned there I think that to talk I mean, that we kind of have to talk about the hype, a little
Mhm.
bit, I think. I think there is an ironic nature to it, but I also
Mhm.
think it has gone so far beyond irony that I do think it has reached a point of unironic love. Like, people
Mhm.
where people think it's like so like people unironically think it's like one of the best films ever made. I think there is like sort of a diagram of people who sort of ironically like it, and then there's sort of like a meeting in the middle of people who
Mhm.
ironically like it, and then people who unironically like it and think it's one of the best films ever made. And like I'm gonna be a bit more of a dissenting voice
Right. I do
on
think like the
this.
irony of it comes from people who haven't watched it and only know it as like a this film
Yeah,
that has 100%. Like, I think people who do watch it have a more genuine take on it. It's more so like
yeah,
a lot of people only know it as like the the Talking Bear movie that has 100% or like is better than Citizen Kane, which obviously
yeah.
is a little exaggerated. But
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, with how Rotten Tomatoes works, it does make sense that something like this, but I don't think it
Yeah,
has
no, no,
100 any.
100% one of, like, a handful of films to ever get 100%, alongside films like 12 Angry Men, various Charlie Chaplin films. I think The Terminator is at 100%, which I think is
Oh,
interesting
interesting.
because I like
I
The
didn't know that.
Terminator, but I don't like
Right.
there are issues with The Terminator, I'll say that.
I
I think the
suppose
first 2.
that's one where like sorry, I suppose that's one where it's like everybody at least gives it like a 6 out of 10, which is how that
Yeah,
site works. Like I can
yeah, no,
imagine
I
no
get
one
yeah,
below
but I
that.
guess But I guess the question is, I guess there are more people who dislike Terminator 2 than Terminator 1, which I find interesting because I think
Right.
Terminator 2 is a much better film. But
Mhm.
I think the first two Toy Story films are at 100%, which I think is fairly
Oh, that's
reasonable.
nice. Those are great.
But then looking at it, it's like the more recent you go, it's like, man, there's not been a film from the last 10 years that I'm like familiar with. Like
How
uh,
interesting.
like I think the most recent film I think there was a Ghibli film. I think it's like Tale of the Princess Kaguya.
Oh, that has 100? That's interesting.
I think so. Yeah, let me check. I've just got the list up here on Wikipedia. Yeah, Tale of the Princess
Yeah.
Kaguya at 100%.
Okay, cool.
It's Such a Beautiful Day
Oh, I didn't know
as
that had 100 either.
100%. Yeah, and then a lot
That's
of
sick.
this is just like I don't know what these films are. Like I don't know
Mhm.
what any of this is. And
Right.
I know films, but this is just I don't know what any of this is really.
Yeah, I imagine there's some
Uh
that have, like, 5 ratings that are all 100
yeah,
that give it a
exactly.
100.
I think it's yeah, I think I definitely will say even though I'm not I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't love these films, but
Mhm.
I think the second one is definitely much better than the first one. Like I'll say that the second one is the better of the two. So to sort of touch on the first one, it's I found it. I don't dislike the first one, but I found it very in places. It was trying to be a bit too try hard in its like sort of quirkiness. I guess I don't know if that's the word
Mhm.
I would use per se. It felt like, "Okay, I see what you're doing here, but it's just not it just feels a bit, like, too sappy for me." It's trying a
Mhm.
bit too hard to be this thing, and again, I don't dislike it, it's just, like, the second one I found far more genuine in what it was doing. The first one felt yeah, I don't know if insincere is necessarily the word, but it's, like, on that line of
I can see what you're saying, yeah. It's much more
yeah,
like it's much less, what's the word? I don't wanna say sophisticated. It's much less like,
yeah,
the second one feels much more elevated from the first one. The first one feels like it still has to confine a bit to some, like,
yeah.
tropey family film, like, beats.
Yeah, that's kind of yeah, it's and again, I don't dislike it at all, but I
Mhm.
think a lot of it doesn't I mean, first of all, the villain, I don't think I don't dislike Nicole
Oh,
Kidman
wow. Mhm.
as an actor. I think she's a solid actor. I don't
Mhm.
to be honest, I've yet to see like an amazing performance from her, and I've seen her in quite a few things. I've just never seen her give like an amazing like probably my favorite performance of hers probably like Eyes Wide Shut. I'd probably say.
Mhm.
Um,
Have you seen To Die For? That would be my
I
favorite
have
Kidman
I
performance.
haven't seen I have not seen that.
I would recommend
But I mean,
it's
yeah,
To Die For.
probably Eyes Wide Shut's probably her best performance, if you ask me, and
Mhm.
I don't even think
That's
it's
also
the
great.
best performance in that film. I think, I mean, it's Tom Cruise is kind of the star of that film, but I think she's good in that
Yeah,
film.
he's better, yeah.
Memory of
They're
it.
both great, though.
But yeah, I've just never been blown away by a performance from her. And people tell me she's a great actor.
Mhm.
Like I'm very aware that she's a beloved actor. Is she an Oscar winner? I know she's been nominated like a fucking shitload of times,
She
but has
won
she
for The
won?
Hours, I think? I think
Okay,
so.
because she's one of those actors where it's just like the Academy is just like we need to fill these 5 slots, and there's no we can't
Yeah.
nominate Meryl for anything. Nicole Kidman, she done? Oh, she has. Okay, well, she's one of those actors where it's like, oh yeah, Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, they've done something that we can nominate because that. Which I know it's a joke, but she does get nominated a fucking lot for. She does get
Yeah,
nominated a
she's a
lot.
favorite for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy her in the first. I mean, she's not I think it's hard to look at her now after we've seen the second one, and I think the villain in the second one is so far superior. But I think she's
Yeah.
fun. She's not she doesn't like playing against type as much, but I do think she's like a fun, serviceable villain. It does feel a little
Mhm.
like I don't know, it does feel very much like a standard like children's film villain and doesn't feel like
Yeah.
as unique and special as some of the other elements of the films do, but I do think she's a fun villain. Again, not the most
Yeah,
memorable, but I do
I mean,
love
she's sort
him
of
in it.
yeah. I mean, she is effectively the general
Mhm.
her motivation for this film is she wants to kill Paddington, and she wants to
Yes. She wants him fucking dead.
taxiderm. Is that what's
Yeah, yeah.
the taxiderm? Is
Taxidermy,
that
yeah.
the word?
Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah.
wants to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sort of the general. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, general plot. She wants to kill and taxidermy on Paddington,
Mhm.
which is just kind of less.
It's a bit
It's just like
silly.
I've seen 101 Dalmatians.
Mm.
Um, I don't.
She does have a
It's
Cruella de
kind
Vil
of
quality.
yeah. It's just sort of like the second Paddington is the villain. Well, I mean, we'll get to it when we talk about it. But I
Mhm. Of
found
course.
the villain in a second one to be far more interesting, and I mean maybe it's because it's an actor I like a lot more as well. But I think that I think again she's not like bad or it's a bad villain or anything. It's just kind of like less interesting to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I like the not again, it's hard to just as a whole, I find Paddington 1 like a slight version of the sequel, which I vastly prefer, and I still like the first a lot. I think the first is really charming and fun, and I think it's a great introduction to the world of Paddington, I suppose.
Mm,
But I do think that the second one improves on it so much in like every way that it's hard to
mhm,
look back on it, seeing the second one and like it just feels like an inferior version, which is what I mean is what a sequel should be. Obviously, if you're going to make a second entry, but I do think that knowing the second one exists, I don't have as much urgency to revisit the first Paddington because I think the second just improves on it in every way. I think like the gags in the first one, none of them compare to like the barber shop or like the window cleaning in the second one. Like the bathtub thing is cute, but it's nowhere near
mm,
as memorable. And like
mhm.
the family stuff is cute and like very like endearing. But yeah, I think it's a really good and like fun film, but I don't have as much to say on it as I do the second one.
Yeah, I mean, probably the second one feels more refined in what it's
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas first one does feel a bit like okay, they're trying to sort of figure out what they're doing with this. Like it feels like it's trying to be something that like it's trying too hard to try and be this thing that it's not.
Mhm. And I feel like Paul King definitely improved his like directing sensibilities because he's definitely attempting to do like kind of this like what works so well in the second one. He's definitely starting to attempt that in the first one, but I do think it works so much more in the second one with like his whole like I don't even know how to like childlike style. I guess I don't know. There's something really
Mhm,
like that I love about how he makes his films. I think is carries over into Wonka. And
mhm.
obviously, I don't know if Paddington is his. I don't think it's his debut, but it's his first of this
Yeah,
like
his
family film.
debut, I think,
Uh,
is called Bunny and the Bull, I think is what it's
yes,
called.
which I don't think
Uh,
anyone I know has seen that.
I
So
don't I mean, I haven't seen it. Yeah, I definitely
I think it's like a pretty crass film too. So I know it's a big difference from his more
yeah.
recent work.
Yeah, it's got Noel Fielding, Richard Ayoade. Yeah, it's got some other actors that I
British
don't
names.
know. Yeah. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
since where there's the cast, both these films, and I guess to an extension, the third film is just some like the cream of British talent right
Right.
now. Like some of the best
Hmm.
British sort of actors working right now, and like across all these films, there's just so many names that there's just an absolute. I mean, you've got Ben Whishaw as Paddington, and I
Hmm.
really like Ben Whishaw. I think he's a really
Yeah.
good
Great voice
actor.
performance here too.
Yeah, I think he really works here. And again, I think he works better in the second film than the first film. But I mean, alongside him, we've got Hugh Bonneville, Sally Hawkins, who I think is an excellent
Amazing.
actor. I think Sally Hawkins is a fantastic actor. I think,
Mhm,
I mean, Shape of Water is her best work, far and away for
mhm.
me. But I think in general, she's very good at what she
Yeah,
does,
no, she's amazing in the Paddington films.
and I've never seen her sort of give a bad performance. She's one of those actors where I don't think I've seen her give a bad. Even in lesser films, she's still good in them.
Mhm, definitely, yeah.
Um, then yeah, you've got Jim Broadbent, who I know I love Jim Broadbent in many
Mhm,
things. Yeah, Julie Walters, Peter Capaldi, and then there's just like lots of other sort of smaller British. But you've also
mhm.
got uh, there's like Michael Gambon and Imelda Staunton as Paddington's aunt and uncle, who I quite like. I think they're both solid in those parts, and we're gonna sort of get more of Aunt Lucy in this third film, from my understanding, because they go to Peru, which is where
Mhm.
Paddington is from, and the second one ends with Aunt Lucy being. We're jumping all over the place, but I think these films sort of.
No, yeah.
I don't think these films are like strong on the story necessarily. Like, not that the stories are bad per se, but I don't think that's why they're like what makes them work is like, oh, these are great stories. They're more just sort of vehicles for yeah, they're not, yeah, they're sort of being used as vehicles rather than trying to tell like an amazing story.
Yeah, I think the stories are serviceable in both of them. Like, they're not,
Yeah,
like, incredible works of literature, but they do,
yeah,
they get the characters, they're fun stories to get the characters and the, like, gags across, and I do think that I
mhm,
think the second one has a better story with, like, the prison stuff, which obviously I don't know if we just wanna jump ahead to the second one or if we wanna, like, talk about them, like, interchangeably, but I think the first one is a decent, like, would you call, like, an origin story? I don't know if that's the word, but just a
yeah.
decent, like,
Mhm,
starting off point for Paddington and, like, the family. I do like the family a lot. I think they're a really
mhm,
great, like, batch of characters, and they're really charming.
mhm. I was just watching these films and I was just like, man, there is just so many like great, like, solid British actors. There's like, there's first we've got Matt Lucas, you've got Kyvan Novak, you've
Mhm,
got Alice Lowe in there for like a very small part. You've got Will Smith, not the American actor Will Smith, the British,
other Will Smith.
the other Will Smith, who is written for The Thick of It and Veep, and has sort
Mhm.
of worked with Armando Iannucci,
Yeah,
quite a
great
bit.
writer.
But and then yeah, I've got Asim Chowdhury, or Chabuddy G as I know him from People Just Do Nothing. And then you go to the second one, and it's just even more. You've got, I mean, you've got all the returning cast members, but along as well, then you've got Jessica Hines or Stevenson, as I know from who did Spaced with Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. She's in Shaun of the Dead. She's in,
Oh.
yeah. There's Richard Ayoade, who I think is excellent. I've never not liked Richard Ayoade in something. Noah
Mhm.
Taylor, who I know from Submarine, which I think is a fantastic film. Submarine is,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely brilliant film. You've got Stathlets Flats, or Jamie Demetriou, who's the big teeth fucker from Fleabag. He's the one that Fleabag dates in the
Mhm.
like he's in like early season one, and he's, yeah, got
Yes,
the
yes.
giant teeth. Um, you've got just so many. I mean, in the prison, there's just a ton of sort of
Oh, yeah, of
smaller, like
course. Well, Brendan
well-known
Gleeson.
British. Brendan Gleeson, obviously. Again, Brendan Gleeson. I've never not liked Brendan Gleeson in something. I think Brendan
Mhm.
Gleeson is really
Yeah,
solid in that role. But I mean, the standout across both these films for me is Hugh Grant,
of course.
um,
The best
in
performance
Paddington
of all
2.
time, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Hugh Grant as an actor, just in general. I know
Mhm.
he's sort of gone past his sort of young. He's not the young, attractive guy. His career sort of started, and he was doing Four Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill and About a Boy.
Hmm.
He was this very sort of charming, stuttery man that just women loved, and now he's sort of gone a bit beyond that now, and he's not any sort of
Hmm.
he's in Heretic, which I think looks pretty
Yeah.
decent, which I'm saying next week. Actually, I'm quite interested because it's him playing a horror movie villain, basically, and I think that's
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested in that.
really interested. And it's A24, so I'm like, okay, this will probably not be too bad then. But I think this is a really fun turn from him. He's there's that scene in the film where he's sort of talking in the mirror. He's sort of got the multiple
Yes.
sort of
Iconic.
reminded of Gollum in Lord of the Rings and
Hmm.
Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man 1, where he's got that where he's just like talking in the mirror to the different. And I thought like that's because it's kind of Hugh Grant. I very much feel like for a long time was sort of typecast. He was sort of doing the
Hmm.
same kind of thing in a lot of his films, and he's good at it. He's good in About a Boy. He's good in a lot of what he does, but
Hmm.
he did sort of fall into a thing of like, well, he is kind of doing the same thing. So I think
Yeah.
being able to show that he's got a bit more, I like when actors who sort of do the same thing for a long time just sort of turn around and are like, hey, I can do this as well, and they do like I feel like it's always nice to see actors who can sort of prove like, oh yeah, I can do this. I'm not just limited to doing this thing. I've sort of been typecast as this, and now I can, sort of like Adam Sandler doing stuff like Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
he can do like proper acting and not just shitty comedies.
I do feel like this kind of revitalized his career a bit because I feel like I've seen him around a lot more things since Paddington 2, which I know it's
Mm,
crazy to say like Paddington 2 revitalized someone's career, but I do think like it did bring a new era of like Hugh Grant being silly, which I've very much enjoyed. Like I really enjoyed him in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which I didn't expect to be something I would like at
mm.
all, but he's really fun in it. In
Yeah,
Wonka, he's very
he's
funny.
yeah chewing the scenery in that, and I think that's sort
Yeah.
of what it is. Is this film is they're just sort of letting him go to sort of chew the scenery and just be like, just have fun. Just because I mean, villains are inherently more interesting and more fun to play. I feel like you could have
Hmm.
sort of have the straight laced hero who's just sort of got to be this, but then villains can just be campy and over the top and just have fun with what
Hmm.
they're doing. So that's why I
Yeah.
feel
I
it's
mean,
like a
also playing an
is
actor
more
is so much fun because he's playing like
yeah.
he's just such a fun like all the different characters he gets to play within this
Mm,
character. It's so enjoyable. Like it's generally
yeah.
one of my favorite villain characters in any film.
Yeah. And it's a very like it's a very simple villain plot. It's not like it's a particularly unique thing either. To be honest, it's not like it's like this failed
Hmm.
actor who wants to sort of revitalize his career. It's like I've seen that a ton of times. But
Hmm.
it works really well here, and but I think I think that he's clearly having a lot of fun with this role, chewing the scenery, just going all out and just going for it.
Like I just feel like everyone's
Mm.
having a great time with it, and I think that really like bleeds through the screen, and it really enhances how just enjoyable and lovely that is. Like I don't know, I just really there's so much joy that's like radiating off of it when I'm watching Paddington 2, and I love it a lot.
The second, I mean, yeah, the second one is the better of the two films because it does feel, it feels more genuine in what it's doing, and like it's not trying as hard to be sort of this heartwarming film. Like the first one does feel a bit like, okay, you're just trying a bit too hard here to for me to really care and get into what is happening.
I definitely know of people that don't love the first one, but really love the second one. I think one of those things
Mm.
where I think the consensus of the second one is better, even if the first one is well liked.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, "Oh, like the first one's the better one," and it's like, yeah, I don't think anyone would think it is. I think,
Perhaps the
um,
third one will be the best.
uh, mm, well,
I
we'll
don't think so,
find
but I'm
out.
excited for it. Yeah.
I mean, Paul King is not directing it, which I don't think like I wouldn't I wouldn't say he's like a particularly amazing director just based off these films. I think he's what works for what he's doing, but I don't think he's not like a real auteur.
Hmm.
He's sort of I don't want to say he's like a hired gun because that feels a bit
He
um
definitely has a style, I feel.
insulting, but he's not like there's mm, but I definitely wouldn't say he's like a a real like it's not like he's not that kind of director where I could show you a scene from one of his films, or I don't think anyway, where I could show you a scene from one of his films and you'd be like, "Oh, that's like classic Paul King." There's nothing that's
Hmm.
like in a way that someone like Tarantino or like Tim Burton or Christopher Nolan, like there's certain other directors where it's like I could show you a scene or even a single frame. Like I could show you a single frame from a Tim Burton film and you'd be like, "Oh, that's a Tim Burton film." And I just don't
Mm.
think Paul King is quite on that level. And that's not to say I think he's a bad director or anything, but he doesn't stand out to me as like a real, I guess, sort of all time great just because I don't and again I don't think that's necessarily a problem per se.
Hmm.
I don't think these films need like amazing direction. Like these are not direction heavy films in the way that the stuff that Tarantino or Nolan or Tim Burton or Scorsese or PTA have, require from their films.
Hmm.
This is just sort of a very yeah, no, it's a solid, like, yeah, these are good films, but they just sort
Hmm.
of don't have the sort of yeah, don't quite go to the next level in terms of how they're
I think we
crafted, and
should.
that's fine.
I think we'll see like what his next couple films are like. Maybe in a couple more films, we'll have a more distinct like outlook on him as a film, as him as an artist. But I'm definitely excited to
Yes.
see what he does next. 'Cause I really did like Wonka, and I love the Paddington films.
I'm gonna plug this now. You did a podcast, a while ago talking about Paddington
Oh,
2,
right, we did do Paddington too. That's right, I forgot
but
about that.
you didn't talk about marmalade sandwiches. You talked about
We did
PB and
not.
J sandwiches, which is not the
Yes,
same thing. And
they're
it's
not. No, we
like,
didn't claim they
like
were.
there is, yeah, I think in general these film the second one more so is it is like because I wasn't like in love with it, but I was like there is an undeniable charm. These films, I think the first film less so, but the second film, I think it is a very likable, heartwarming, upbeat film, but it doesn't feel annoying about it. It's not like yeah, it's not annoying with that. It feels genuine and earned in a way that I don't
Mm.
think the first film sort of falters in that aspect
Yeah,
in
it
terms
feels
of
earned.
trying to create yeah, sort of a happy, sort of upbeat feeling. Where the second one feels yeah more genuine in what it's doing and doesn't feel um yeah unearned in it. And there's lots of I mean the sort of the whole sort of mid set. I mean we haven't really there's not been much structure to this. We've just been sort of going around and just talking about but
Just
this the
rambling
whole
about
sort of
Paddington.
middle section of the film is Paddington in the prison. And it
Mhm.
is fairly predictable. It's kind of like, okay, I kind of know where this is gonna go. They're all gonna be won over to his side. They're all gonna become friends. They're all gonna, and it's predictable. It's not like it's doing anything new or special, but it's like that's okay. Like I don't need everything to be reinventing the wheel of being like, "Oh,
Yeah,
this
of
is something
course.
I've never seen before in a film." And for something like Paddington, I really don't think it needs to be trying too hard to be this special, unique film and being like, "Oh man." we gotta make this this sort of like Lynchian type thing where we're just fucking throwing shit at the wall and just seeing what's it's like it's not trying to be this sort of real. It's not trying to be this uh
Yeah, I gotcha.
massively outstanding, like amazing piece of filmmaking from a technical level per se. It's just sort of
Mhm.
a very
It's
it's a
self-aware.
solid. Yeah, I don't want to say kid. I mean, I guess it is kind of a kids film, but that does feel vaguely like
Like
condescending
demeaning.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think it's able to be enjoyed by mostly anybody. I don't
yeah.
know. It
It's
feels
for a
very
general
like,
audience.
yeah,
Uh,
crowd pleaser.
yeah, it's a crowd pleaser, but yeah, because I think the term kids film is sort of a feels vaguely sort of condescending to me in the sense of like, and like there are films made for kids that are like
Mhm.
made specifically for like a child audience in mind, but I think I
Right.
the term kids film has sort of expanded beyond, like I think a lot of people who say kids film are doing use it in a sort of condescending way to sort of make it seem as a lesser film per se by saying like, oh, you like that, that's just for kids, like it's that kind of thing. But I think it's a very it's a very charming film that I think can appeal to anyone. I think it's a film that I think it's like there's not like I don't think there's going to be many people you'll find who dislike Paddington 2.
There
um
shouldn't be.
I think it's, even if like you don't love the film like me, I appreciate that. Like it's good, but it is not like one of the all-time great films, which I think and I think that I think it's a genuinely yeah, it's hard to dislike. Yeah, it's a solid watch. I didn't dislike watching them. They're not films that I'm like, oh, I want to revisit these, often. Because
Mhm.
I don't. Again, they're not bad, but it's just sort of like there's just so many more films that connect with me and that I would be like I'd rather watch again
Mhm.
than these films. And I mean, sort of just in terms of what I like in film. Like this isn't. Yeah, these are the sort of films that are like these are good films, but they're very much not the kind of films I really get a, get a lot out of in terms of what
Mhm.
appeals to me more as a film watcher. I sort of I don't get as much out of these. Doing a third, which I'm interested in. I think it's been what, 7 years? 2017? Yeah,
Mhm.
7 years since the last one. So I do
Like the before trilogy.
wonder. Fucking hell. Okay. I do. I do. I haven't. I've seen the trailer. I say
Mhm.
I remember much from it. Uh, Um,
Antonio Barrett been
I
in it.
know. Yeah, Olivia
Oh
Colman
yeah,
is in
Sam.
it, who is just an absolute treasure. Again, Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
I've never not liked Olivia Colman in something.
Mhm.
Antonio Banderas is also really great. I've never not liked Antonio Banderas in anything really. I think everything I've seen him in, he's always good in it. So I think I'm interested to see what they do with it, because it's giving the films a new flavor because they're going abroad. The first two are sort of
Mhm.
stuck in England. They're sort of basically in there for the entire runtime. And I mean, you know, part of it is set in a prison, which does give the second one a bit of a unique flavor. Is there's a good section of the film that is in the prison, which does give it which makes it stand out more. The first one I feel is very sort of standard like film, whereas the second one is being a bit more interesting with what it's doing. Having I
Mhm.
enjoy stories that are sort of dealing with like a prison subplot or characters trying to sort of escape from prison. I enjoy that kind of thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this third Paddington. I've got no
Yeah.
like I'm going in with like basically no expectations because I don't really I try to go into films with as few expectations as I can, just
Mhm.
purely because I don't want I think going in with as few I'm disappointed by films, but I do
Mhm.
try to go in as open as I can to a film, and
Yeah.
sometimes I end up liking a film a lot more than I thought I would. Like The Apprentice, I saw fairly recently, and I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. And
Mhm.
then I saw Saturday Night, which I liked a lot less than I thought I would. So I try to go in with as open a mind as I can, because I try
Mhm.
not to sort of create preconceived notions of like, oh, well, this film is this kind of film, so I'm going to dislike it, or it's this kind of film, so I'm going to like it. I don't do that because
Right.
uh, I could be disappointed. So I'm in as open a mind as I could. This could end up being my favorite Paddington film. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's giving
Hope
it
so.
a unique flavor, which I think is good. I prefer when franchises be like, okay, we've kind of done the same thing for a while. Let's do something new, and this is doing something new. It's them traveling, going abroad to a different country, and I think that's good. I think that's sort of to if they because I don't know what the plan is if they're going to make more Paddington films after this. I guess it depends how
Mhm.
well this does because people love Paddington and studios they like
Right.
making money, they enjoy the
Mhm.
money. So if this film does well, which I feel like at this point it'll probably do solidly well. Like I think because it's been long enough that I think people know about Paddington 2 and how well regarded it is and how much people enjoy it. So
Mhm.
people will be like, "Oh, there's a new one. We got to go see it." But it
Yeah.
doesn't come out for like most people until like 2025. Like
Mhm.
if I like, it's like if I was to just look at when it's meant to become, because I know it obviously makes sense that the UK is getting it first because it's a British film, which makes sense. UK, Ireland, Russia is getting it in November. That's interesting, and then it's every other country here. It's sometime in January 2025. So
Mhm.
United States, January 17th. So and
I'm
then
excited.
Australia, January 1st, which interesting because that's the day Nosferatu comes out here as well. So that's
Mm.
could have a really interesting double bill with Nosferatu and Paddington 3. I mean, is there anything else you want to say on these Paddington films, or should we put rating? I know you don't believe in ratings. I know you on your
No, I
letterbox
wouldn't
you
say I
don't
don't believe
you
in
don't
it.
rate. You
I do
just
not
don't,
know,
but you
but
don't rate things.
yeah, I respect ratings, but personally, they stress me out too much. But if I were
Mm,
to, I would give the first one an 8 out of 10, and the second
mm.
one, I would give a 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
unironically. I just think it's the perfect family film and, like, perfect, just charming, um, film. Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Okay. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I don't know why I'm laughing. I did expect that.
No,
I was
you're
like,
fine.
"Oh, it's probably gonna be a 10." I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
I
about
do
other films that
really
have been
enjoy
given a 10 on this podcast, and I'm like, "Okay, what has been given a 10?" The Truman Show was given a
it.
10.
Mhm,
Oh, I gave it a 10. I gave Nightmare Before Christmas a 10.
mhm.
Um I gave Fight Club a 10, which I know it's a joke to like Fight Club now, but I'm sorry, it's a good film. I know it's been co-opted by stupid people, but I don't care. It's a fucking great film. I don't care. I'm sorry. I gave Back to the Future a 10, which again, Back to the Future is a perfect film if you ask me. I gave Little Shop of Horrors a 10 because that's the best film if you ask me. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other films have gotten 10s on the show. I think 500 Days of
Well, now
Summer got a 10
Paddington's
from
so bad.
someone.
Okay, well, that's Paddington 2 is more valid than that. 500 Days Summer is
Mm.
good, but
Yeah, I give Paddington 1 a 7. It's a very low 7 though, like on the
mm,
border of maybe being a 6. And
okay,
Paddington 2 I also give a 7, but it's a stronger 7. It's a stronger 7. And like 7 out of 10 is like a
it's a good
good
rating.
like my
Yeah,
my
definitely.
average is like generally 7 to 8 is like a good film. I mean, but I mean that's pretty much it. Is there anything you would like to plug before I wrap this up?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed talking about Paddington and loved your show, so I appreciate letting me back onto it. I would like to
Mhm.
plug your show. That would be other episodes.
Yes, you've done how many episodes have we done? You did Chicken
This is the
Run,
third. Yes,
which we also clashed on somewhat.
not as much. I'm
Um,
not as passionate about
not
that
at
one.
no, well, I don't. If anyone's passionate about Chicken Run, like just I still
That's the
haven't seen the
problem.
second one. I still did not. I
It's
haven't seen the
very
second one yet,
forgettable.
but I
It's not very.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then we did Kung Fu Panda,
that's right. We did all three.
w- which I still haven't seen the fourth one yet either, but I've not heard
Also
a
not
good
very
word
good.
on it. Man, it's man twice now. We've covered films where the film we're tying it into is just not that
Yeah.
well received, and it
Hopefully,
would be
Paddington 3
disappointing.
breaks that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
yeah, and if you like listening to Ben, there
Oh,
is going to be a couple more, maybe at least one more episode planned for the end of the year, which I should really start watching those films now because
they're
like
long.
they are
Yes.
really long films and I haven't seen them in like 10 years. So I need to like
Hmm.
start rewatching them now because
Yeah.
very long. And the versions of the films I have are like the longer versions. Like I've
Oh,
got
the
them on
extended.
DVD, but they are the
I see.
extended versions that are like 4 fucking hours. So I'm like, I need to find the time to start watching them now. So I'm like uh prepared to talk about them.
Hmm.
Um
Right.
but that will
Well, I'm looking
be
forward to that.
yeah, I'm because I haven't seen them in years, like 10 years, so I wonder how I'll think of them now because I haven't seen them in,
Hmm.
um, yeah,
Yeah. No,
decades, basically.
they're the
Like, I
best.
honestly can't remember the last time I've seen them, but I don't know if I will like them as much. I don't know, maybe I will still end up liking them. We'll see. But that
You
episode will
have to
be
tune in and find out.
yeah, towards the latter stages of this month, it'll be near the end, so be prepared because it's gonna be in a few weeks.
Hmm.
And then yeah, there's maybe one more Ben might be on. Possibly. It depends how things work around because it'll be in December and things are harder to plan in December because there's just all
Right.
these things going on. But we'll see how it works out because I've got other people who also want to do that episode. So I
Hmm.
can try and get multiple people on, but time zones are a whole fucking thing. Like it is currently like nearly 11 a.m. when I'm recording this, and I'm not
Hmm.
usually recording till like 3 or 4 p.m. Like this is an early recording for me,
Early morning
so
movies.
it's yeah. So that's sort of the so this is an early recording session for me. I don't usually record this early, but
Gotcha.
we will see. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's gonna be some other returning guests who have done this show before, and there's also gonna be someone new who has never done the show who'll be doing an episode in December, which is
Mm.
gonna be fun. I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to that.
Nice.
But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. It's not been a massively long episode to be fair, but like I
Hmm.
don't know if there is like a massive amount to really talk about just because of
Yeah.
what the very nature of what it is. It's not like we're covering, something
Hmm.
particularly
The zone of interest.
yeah, we're not sort of talking about something very deep with like lots of layers to it. We're not talking about, a Michelle Haneke film or anything like that, where it's like there's just so much to talk about, or
Hmm.
we're not covering like a massive franchise. I mean, two films is like, I mean, it is a franchise, but it's not like I did I mean, a few months ago now, I did a Tim Burton episode, and I covered every Tim Burton film he's made. So that's like 20
Oh wow.
films, and it was very, very tiring. It was like 3, 4
Mhm,
hours we recorded for to just cover it because I planned to do it in like 3 parts, like a 3-part thing, and then time just got in the
mhm.
way, so we had to just condense it to one episode. Um,
I see.
but yeah, thank you, Ben, for joining me for this week's episode.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and listen to, I mean, not just listen to Ben's episodes, but listen to all the episodes. It's 160 something episodes of good listening content. Like this year, there's been some really, really good episodes like that. Some episodes I've really been pleased with from this year. I hope you I mean, just listen to anything. Just anything that piques your interest. Just listen to it. It'll probably be good. If you know you like animated films, we talk about animated films. You like superhero films. Done quite a few of those. If you just like films, any of these will probably work for you because they're all about films. So I hope you have all enjoyed. I'm still not good at outros. I just
It's all
say things.
tricky.
But I hope you've all enjoyed listening to this week's episode, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.